Thank you, Sir Nash. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you are enjoying the salubrious climes of Hanover. And to bring us greetings, we're going to invite the first person of Hanover. It's first person, first gentleman, Madam P.E. First citizen of Hanover, Custos Rotolorium, the Honorable Lennox Anderson Jackson, to bring us greetings. It's a far walk, Sir Jackson. Trivia. How many of you know which parish Negril is in? You would be wrong. You would be wrong. Thank you.
I stand on the protocol that have already been observed. But I just want to greet Mr. Malava. Meet him for the second time, and I guess that he's doing a wonderful job thus far in the Jamaica Teachers Association. Ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, good morning. Good morning. It is indeed a privilege and an honor for me in my capacity as Custos Rotolorum for the parish of Hanover to extend warm greetings to you all on this occasion of this important annual educational conference hosted by the Jamaica Teachers Association here at the beautiful Princess Grand Hotel. But let me say how happy I am to welcome you to Hanover. Whether you are visiting for the first time or returning, I am truly glad to have you here. I hope you will only have a productive conference, but also enjoy the warmth, the beauty, and hospitality of this parish. How many of you became teachers because you loved school? And how many became teachers because you realized you could never really leave it? Turn to the person next to you and share in one sentence the teacher who had the greatest impact on your life. I'm not seeing you turning. You'll realize very quickly education is personal. Education is powerful. And education is lasting. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here today speaks volume. It reflects your steady commitment to shaping minds, building character, and advancing our nation through education. This year's conference theme future-proofing education in times of crisis, advanced STEM, and TVET to sustain innovation, resilience, and recovery is both timely and thought-provoking. We are living in an era defined by rapid technological advancement, shifting economies, and developing workforce demands. STEM and TVET are basically no longer optional pathways. They are essential foundations for national growth, innovation, and global competitiveness. But the question before us this morning is not just whether there is a future, but how we as educators and leaders will actively shape the future. In Hanover and across Jamaica, for instance, we recognize that sustainable education must be inclusive, adaptive, and forward-thinking. It must equip our young people not only to academic knowledge, but with practical skills, critical thinking abilities, and the resilience to navigate an ever-changing world. Teachers, principals, and education stakeholders, thank you. Your work is not easy, but it is very important. Every day, you help to shape the lives of our children and guide them towards a better future. Because of you, dreams are formed, talents are discovered, and lives are changed. We recognize the sacrifices you make, the long hours, the dedication, and the care you give to your students. Many times your efforts go beyond the classroom. And for that, we are truly grateful. As Custos of Hanover, I use this particular opportunity to commend the Jamaica Teachers Association for its continued leadership in fostering dialogue, professional development, and advocacy on behalf of our educators. Your efforts are instrumental in strengthening the foundation upon which our society stands. I encourage you to engage fully over these next few days, share ideas, challenge perspectives, and collaborate meaningfully. The future of education depends on the conversations you have today and the actions you will take tomorrow. On behalf of our parish, I warmly again welcome you and wish you for a productive, enriching, and inspiring conference. Thank you, and may your deliberations be fruitful. God bless you all. Thank you.
I want to thank Custos for that welcome to the parish of Hanover. But I want to point out that the Custos tried to do an appraisal of Dr. Mark Malavo. And the problem, and I'm sure Dr. Gordon will agree with me, that if appraisals are done by individuals who do not supervise that person, the numbers may not come out very well. Because in our mark book, the appraisal items for Dr. Malavo, for Mr. Malavo, probably Dr. Malavo, the appraisals items are at 2% on the first one and 2.5% on the other two. And that is way below anything receptive for a pass mark. The day is not yet done, however. And there is an individual who may be able to improve his appraisal score. At this time, we're going to invite the Honorable Rhoda Moy Crawford, Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information, and hope for our sakes that she will improve his appraisal score.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Nicely, I am so very happy to be here today, not because I want to accompany you to the dance, but because I am a trained teacher of English language and English literature. And I received those training at Shortwood Teachers College and at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. So I am very comfortable in this gathering, and I know I am also very protected as a teacher myself. Custos Rotalorum of Hanover, Honorable Lennox Anderson, President of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Mr. Mark Malavo, President-elect, who I know is a Shortwoodite and one who I admired very much during my time at Shortwood, Miss Lasagna Harrison, Secretary General Dr. Mark Nicely, specially invited guest speaker Dr. Kevin Brown, Acting Chief Education Officer in our Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information, Mrs. Terrian Thomas Gale, distinguished educators, stakeholders, development partners, members of the private sector, our students, members of the media, specially invited guests, good morning or good afternoon. I greet you well. I speak with the mixed feelings of pride and honor in addressing you, not only in the capacity of Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information, but most importantly, as a properly trained teacher. At the outset, allow me to extend sincere commendations to its leadership and its enduring role as a strategic partner in shaping Jamaica's education. Your advocacy, professionalism, and commitment continue to ensure that education remains at the heart of national development. I acknowledge this conference as a critical forum where ideas are exchanged, partnerships are strengthened, and the future of our nation's education system is robustly discussed. Colleagues, in 2026, future-proofing education requires far more than incremental adjustments. It calls for a bold, systematic transformation, one that prepares our learners not just for today's realities, but for a rapidly evolving, technology-driven, and increasingly unpredictable global environment. As a ministry, we are now moving decisively towards a proactive, resilient system, one deliberately engineered to absorb shocks, adapt to disruptions, and ensure continuity in teaching and learning under any circumstance. This transformation is being driven by the strategic convergence of STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, as well as technical and vocational education and training, TVET. This integration represents a decisive break from traditional educational silos and ushers in a dynamic, skill-first ecosystem that combines theoretical knowledge with practical, industry-aligned competencies. For far too long, TVET has been perceived as a secondary pathway. Today, we are unequivocal in our position. TVET is not an alternative. It is a critical pillar of our national development agenda. Indeed, TVET now stands as a central pillar within our national transformation framework. As we move to equip our learners with the practical competencies, entrepreneurial mindsets, and adaptive skills required to thrive in a modern, innovation-driven economy. In this regard, our Ministry of Education has embarked on one of the most ambitious initiatives in our education history, the TVET Expansion Plan. This plan represents a transformative investment in skills development and includes over 400 million JMD to strengthen TVET delivery across primary and secondary schools, targeted funding to support continuous competency-based assessments, the upgrading and equipping of labs to meet modern industry standards, and the establishment of state-of-the-art technology-enabled labs in emerging fields. Importantly, an additional 400 million JMD has been earmarked to retrofit our technical high schools with new and emerging laboratories, ensuring that no institution is left behind in this national transformation. These modern, innovation-driven learning environments will enable our students to engage with digital tools, automation, robotics, and real-world problem-solving systems that mirrors today's workforce. Our vision goes beyond expansion to meaningful integration. STEM and STEAM provide the theoretical foundation, while TVET brings learning to life through practical application. Together, they create a dynamic ecosystem for innovation, creativity, and productivity. Through the 1962 STEM program with 21st Century Education, the RAISE initiative, and our partnership with the British Council's STEAM Education in Schools program, we are strengthening problem solving, creativity, digital literacy, and AI-enabled competencies across the curriculum. These initiatives are already making a tangible difference across Jamaica through hands-on projects in renewable energy, irrigation, and product design. AI-supported teaching to improve mathematics outcomes and students' STEM identity and expanded access to coding, robotics, and microbit technologies in more than 160 of our schools. This progress was powerfully reflected during National STEAM Education Week 2026 under the theme, Creating Solutions, Driving Change. With participation from over 100 schools, the National STEAM Expo highlighted student-led innovation in climate resilience, renewable energy, agriculture, and food security, robotics, automation, health, and technology. It affirmed a simple but powerful reality. When students are equipped with the right tools, they do not simply learn. They innovate, they solve, and they lead. The integrated STEAM TVET approach is also vital to national resilience. In the face of hurricane and other national In the face of hurricanes and other disruptions, we have learned that recovery depends not only on infrastructure, but on people having the skills to rebuild, adapt, and innovate. By equipping learners with competencies in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, digital technologies, and climate-responsive practices, we're preparing them not only for recovery, but for long-term national sustainability. As we advance this agenda, equity and inclusion remain central. Our efforts are intentionally focused on underserved and vulnerable communities. Communities where every child, regardless of background, has access to high-quality, skill-based education and the opportunity to succeed, innovate, and contribute meaningfully to national development. That is why this conference is so important. It focused on curriculum transformation, mainstreaming TVET, strengthening partnerships, and aligning education with labor market needs. Just as important is its role in fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing, giving educators and stakeholders the space to exchange best practices, innovative models, and scalable solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the integration of STEAM and TVET is not simply an educational reform. It is a national imperative. It is about building a workforce that is skilled, innovative, resilient, and globally competitive. It is about ensuring that Jamaica does not merely respond to change, but actively shapes it. As we engage over the coming days, let us remain guided by a shared vision, creating an education system that empowers every Jamaican learner with the competencies, creativity, and confidence to thrive in the 21st century and beyond. On behalf of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, I reaffirm our unwavering commitment to working collaboratively with all stakeholders to build an education system that sustains innovation, strengthens resilience, and drives national recovery and growth. I, together with Minister Dana Morris-Dixon, wish you a productive, insightful, and impactful conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you, the Honorable Rhoda Moy Crawford. I listened keenly and did not hear any changes in the appraisal score. When we began setting up the room, my colleague, Dr. War Richards, came by, as we do in the evenings before conference, to scope the setup. When she saw what was being constructed, she said, it looks like they have moved us into another room because that room has been set up for a dance. The dance that the room was set up for will now be conducted by Cove Primary School. Let us invite the students and other performers from Cove Primary in Hanover to come and give us an item. You have to keep the applause going. And if you stop the applause, the dance will, okay, good. Let's give the applause at this time. Do you need a mic?
Education. Education are the key for out of poverty. Education. Education. Doctor, policeman, education. Education. The crisis in our land. Education. Education. Sustain, resilience, recovery, education. Education.
We want to thank Cove Primary School for that rousing performance. If our president tries dancing, then his appraisal score may improve. At this time, we're going to invite Mrs. Andrea Bryan Hughes. Okay. Thank you. It is now time to invite our president, whose appraisal score is 98%. It is only the 2% that is missing. Our president will come to give his remarks, after which Andrea Bryan Hughes will introduce our guest speaker. Mr. President, would you like the musical accompaniment?
Why, those drummers, I feel the spirit of my ancestor them walking on me a while ago. Right, Lasagna? You don't feel the spirit? And it wasn't the Holy Spirit, you know. Let me begin by standing on the protocols that have already been established. Let me, however, specially acknowledge our Chief Education Officer, Ms. Terrian Gale. I also want to acknowledge one of our foundation members of the Jamaica Teachers Association, Dr. Winsome Gordon, a lady who, in spite of the fact that she is our member, she can give us trouble sometimes, but she is more often a good friend than not. Mr. Nash has already given a comprehensive overview of what this year's conference is about, and the Honorable Minister Rhoda Crawford has also indicated what the national thrust is. So I would not speak much on that, but today, colleagues, I stand before you today not only as a representative of teachers, but as a witness, one who has seen firsthand the strain, the sacrifice, and the resilience of educators across the nation. The theme of this year's conference, Future-Proofing Education in Times of Crisis, advancing STEAM and TVET to sustain innovation, resilience, and recovery, is both timely and necessary. But if we are to engage it honestly, colleagues, we must begin with a simple truth. We cannot, I repeat, we cannot future-proof a system that we are unwilling to protect in the present. And let us reflect on our journey, our recent journey. First, there was COVID-19, which forced our teachers to become digital innovators overnight, often at their own expense. Then there was Hurricane Beryl, reminding us that recovery is never linear. And then came Hurricane Melissa, whose effects we are still grappling with today. Colleagues, we are now approaching the 7th month since Hurricane Melissa has passed. And yet in parts of Western Jamaica, our teachers and students remain in conditions that are unacceptable. Our teachers in many of our schools are working in deplorable conditions, conditions that robs them of dignity. Yet they show up every day in spite of this for their students. Students and teachers are in tents that have become unusable when rain falls and hot whenever the sun shines. Children and teachers are displaced, and at the same time, shelterees occupy classrooms. Something is wrong with that equation. So when we hear, for example, the claim by the Minister of Local Government that there is no displacement, we must ask, what do we call it when students are removed from classrooms and placed in tents? What do we call it when schools operate on rotation systems because classrooms are occupied by shelterees? If that is not displacement, it must be replacement. The next thing we are going to hear is that rain does not fall in the western part of the island. So the tents are perfectly okay. We must not, colleagues, dismiss the lived realities of our teachers and our students. The Jamaica Teachers Association has made it unequivocally clear, in spite of the utterances of the Minister of Local Government, who we have written to that ministry about our concerns. And in spite of his claim that the JTA has no right to be issuing ultimatum, let me make it pellucidly clear. We are not talking about garbage and garbage collection. That is the portfolio and responsibility of the Minister of Local Government. Neither are we talking about parks and markets or parish council roads. What we are talking about, colleagues, are the conditions of service of our members. The JTA has both a right and a duty to represent and protect the interests of our members, and we will do so without apology. And when teachers are required to work in conditions that compromise safety, dignity, and effectiveness, we will speak and we will act. Because what is happening is not just inconvenience. It is a violation of rights. It undermines the ILO Convention of Occupational Health and Safety that was ratified by this country more than 25 years ago. It violates the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, and it offends the spirit and law of the Child Care and Protection Act. And the conditions, colleagues, are deeply troubling. Reports of shelterees engaging in sexual activity within the clear view of students is something that everyone should be outraged about. Reports of teachers' resources going missing. Reports of schools being transformed into spaces befitting of tenement yard that no longer represents institutions of learning is something that every individual should be outraged about. And meanwhile, our students are in tents, exposed to the elements, along with their teachers, while classrooms to be occupied by shelterees under fan. That is not just unacceptable, it is outrageous. Something that no modern-day society or government should countenance, yet alone seek to defend. And that's what we are hearing, with the greatest of respect to my colleagues in the Ministry of Education. There's almost this defense, and that we should have compassion. But what about the rights of our individuals? What about the rights of our teachers? What about the rights of our students? And while our teachers continue to endure these conditions, they are also watching the slow pace of negotiations. They are watching the lack of urgency and engagement. They are becoming weary. And let me say this clearly. A weary workforce will not remain passive indefinitely. We have sought dialogue. We have exercised patience. But there's a growing sentiment that teachers may soon need to assert their position more forcefully. But even as we confront these realities, colleagues, we must examine how we are defining future-proofing, because it appears less like strategic planning and more like misplaced priorities. We are told that the government has borrowed a significant amount of money. I believe the figure is 133 million US dollars to build STEM and STEAM school. And I often ask the question, why is it that we are building these institutions when there is not a population overgrowth? Why? And why are we seeking to invent the wheel, colleagues, when the foundation already exists in our technical schools? Institutions, some of which are now being starved of resources, in spite, Minister Crawford, of the 400 million that has been allocated. It is really a drop in the bucket. This approach of building additional schools risks deepening the inequality, creating a system where only a select few have access to world-class opportunities, while the majority are left behind. And that cannot be acceptable. Every child, regardless of which school he or she attend, must have access to quality STEAM, TVET education, and not just some. And that is why we make a simple call: reprioritize and reallocate these resources. Upgrade all existing high schools. You're right, Minister Crawford. Let us start with the technical schools and build out from there. Embark on an aggressive campaign to modernize our labs across the system. This thing here where you do a lab there, and then you do a lab there, and then you do a lab over there, can't work. It will not do anything to transform anything. We must adopt a revolutionary approach to our education, building out the infrastructure in a very aggressive way, colleagues. That is how you really future-proof the education system. And that is what we should do. Because let us be clear, innovation cannot strive in instability. And you cannot speak about robotics with children that are sometimes even displaced by the rain section, based on what is happening in the western part of the island. So, colleagues, we are saying today, restore safe and dignified conditions in our schools now. Engage teachers with urgency and respect now. We are also saying invest equitably in STEAM and TVET education across the entire system. Colleagues, the future of education will not be determined by what we say in rooms like this, but by what we are willing to confront outside of them. The children in those tents, we have to confront it. And we must speak truth to power. Same thing with the teachers under those conditions. They are not abstractions. They are human beings. They are our responsibility, Minister. And yet, even as we confront these realities, I remain hopeful, because this conference, Future-Proofing Education in Times of Crisis, is not just a theme. It is a call to action, a call to build systems that can withstand disruption, a call to equip our students to innovate and lead, a call to ensure that resilience is designed, not endured. I am genuinely excited about this year's education conference, about the ideas, the solutions, and the renewed commitment it brings. if we align our actions with this vision, if we invest, Minister, in STEAM and TVET for all, restore dignity in our schools, and place equity at the center, then we will not only recover from crisis, we will redefine what is possible for education in Jamaica. Let us leave here not just inspired, but restored to future-proof our education system with purpose, equity, and courage. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Today's special presenter was appointed as the 5th president of the University of Technology, Jamaica, UTech Jamaica, in September 2023. With over 18 years of experience in academia and the aerospace industry, he has been a leader in complex aerospace structural system design, transport systems, and engineering materials. He previously served as technology project lead at Rolls-Royce, overseeing global teams and strategic initiatives. A published researcher and patent holder, this gentleman has also led high-value technology programs in collaboration with top universities and is therefore eminently qualified to examine our conference theme, future-proofing education in times of crisis, advancing STEAM and TVET to sustain innovation, resilience, and recovery. Committed to community engagement, he has worked closely with government and private sector entities and has been a radio broadcaster for over 12 years. An alumnus of UTech Jamaica, he holds a master's and PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of Nottingham. Ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues all, join me in welcoming our keynote speaker for today, Dr. Kevin Brown.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm going to have to rely on the chairman who said that we're in a different time zone. So my apologies, I'm trying to keep up with the Hanover time zone. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege and an honor to be here amongst distinguished educators, leaders, and colleagues. Please allow me to stand on the protocols, but I do have to acknowledge our Minister of State, Rhoda Moy Crawford, MP, and also Ms. Terrian Gale, CEO, and other members of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. Let me also acknowledge President Malaba, the revolutionary president. It's really hard to If I had known he was going to give that speech, I'd have said, put me up further in the program, he can come after me, you know. But I must say that I am pleased to live in a democracy where the president of the JTA can speak his opinion and the minister is here to listen and we can work together in a very aligned way. So there are positives to be taken from even just this event today. I must also acknowledge Dr. Mark Smith, my friend and immediate past JTA president, principal of Monroe my other friend, Mrs. Nadine Malloy, principal of Shortwood Teachers College. And I was like, should I really, because Shortwood has been getting a lot of mention at this JTA conference, but I could not come up here and not acknowledge my good friend. So there you go. But I want to just thank the team at JTA for this honor, and also your incoming president, Mrs. Lasagna Harrison. I've been sitting next to her, and I feel the energy. Oh, Minister, you're pushing it short with let me move on quickly. All right, so I also have some UTech staff and students here who are working with the audiovisual team. So I want to acknowledge them as well. So it's really a privilege to be here. And I thank the JTA for taking me home, because I'm a country boy from the West. Even now in Kingston, I feel like a little foreigner, and I need a GPS to get around, even though I have lived there for just over 2 years. The West is where I'm from. I've lived all over the West. I lived in Frome. I lived in Grange Hill. I attended Grange Hill Primary School. I lived in Lucy, which most of you would have passed to get here to Green Island. I attended Herbert Morrison Technical High School in Montego Bay. Some say it's the best school in the West. I will let you be the judge of that. I will not comment, but that's what others say. The other thing I'd like to mention is that I'm a former pre-trained teacher. Now, Minister was saying she's a properly trained. I was a pre-trained teacher at age 15. So I left high school and immediately went back to teach technical drawing and mechanical technology. So when you talk about TVET, I am TVET. And this is why this stigmatization of TVET has to end. Because there is TVET all around us. So let me begin by saying something very simple. The most powerful force shaping Jamaica's future is sitting in your classrooms. They're what? Our children, right? And the people shaping those children every day are you, the teachers of Jamaica. It is teachers who have shaped me into who I am today. It is my English teacher, Mrs. Reed from Herbert Morrison Technical High School, who gave me the confidence when I had none to pass English at CXC. It is Mr. Christopher Street, whose total dedication to all of us in my class, spending day and night in the machine shop to ensure that we would pass our mechanical technology SBA. It is Vaughn Farquharson who taught me technical drawing, and having seen how well I could do in the subject, said that I should not only pursue the CXC in technical drawing, but I should do the GCE O level. And he taught me after school free of cost. And I achieved an A in GCO level technical drawing and a 1 in CXC technical drawing. I was the only student in the history of the school to do that. But Mr. Farkas saw something in me and felt I needed to be stretched. Right? Then there is Miss Delissa, maths teacher at UTech, who made us all feel that we could excel in maths. There was Dr. Richard Brooks from the University of Nottingham, who gave me the opportunity to pursue my PhD when his other colleagues said no. Teachers. So I want to say, and I don't want to get too emotional up here, my team knows me very well. But I want to say that I am eternally grateful to teachers. I owe you everything, because you've given me all that I have today. And those are just some of the many teachers who have touched my life. Mrs. Delisa, by the way, is still teaching maths at UTech, so I know you'll start trying to guess her age. She's still there, still inspiring our students. Now, today I want to speak about something that concerns everyone in our classrooms, every student in our schools, the future of our nation. Today I want to talk about how do we future-proof education. Not simply improve education, but ensuring that young people in our classrooms today are prepared for a world that's changing faster than any generation before them has experienced. We live in a time of profound disruption, technological disruption, climate disruption, economic disruption, and social disruption. Yet in the midst of the crisis lies opportunity, an opportunity to rethink education, an opportunity to innovate, an opportunity to ensure that Jamaica's young people are prepared not just for the jobs of today, but for the world of tomorrow. And conference, I want to say this: the future will not wait on our education system to catch up. So we have to move, and move quickly. For too long, in many societies, including Jamaica, we created this false hierarchy in education. Academic education was seen as prestigious. In fact, when I went to Herbert Morrison Technical High School, those who were streamed off into sciences in grade 10, they were walking with their heads held high. They were given the best teachers. They were told that you are headed for the UWI Mona. I don't know where the rest of us were headed. I wanted to be an engineer from when I was in primary school, so I happily selected engineering. I was streamed off into engineering. We were never given the best teachers. I didn't even have a physics teacher, and I was doing engineering. But the school had physics teacher. But the physics teacher was for those pursuing sciences. And if you were seen as not academically achieving, you didn't have a choice. Automatically, you were placed in auto mechanics. That is where we're coming from. So I did say I wasn't going to get emotional today, but when I listened to the speakers before me, a minister of government, the head of the JTA, and others, aligned around TVET, I could have cried. We have come a long way. And I want to say to the minister, and I want to say to the JTA, please, let it not just be rhetorical. Let this be the vision you have for Jamaica truly, and implement it. Let TVET and STEAM be the center of our education system. It is a strategic national asset for development. TVET connects education to industry. It equips learners with practical, employable skills. It nurtures innovation and partnership, and it strengthens the resilience of our country. It is the same TVET professionals you can't find now to rebuild our schools, our homes, our hospitals, our roads. Everybody wanting you if you have money, you still can't find them because they are so essential to this resilience and recovery project. Countries that succeed in the modern global economy understand that technical education is not secondary. And we talk about these countries all the time. You hear people waxing lyrical about Germany. Germany is built off the back of TVET. We are admiring all these countries. Admiration now needs to turn into action. Admiration now needs to turn into us copying best practices and implementing it. And around the world, we see a shift towards STEM or STEAM. science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, STEAM, which develops critical thinking, creativity, and innovation. Again, it equips learners with the ability to solve complex problems. And perhaps most importantly, it encourages curiosity. Curiosity that drives discovery, curiosity that fuels innovation, and curiosity that will transform our society. But we must also recognize the context in which we're educating our students. We're living in an age of disruption. We had the major pandemics like COVID-19 that can shut down not just only your school system, but your entire global economy. Climate change is causing more frequent and stronger weather systems that threaten, again, our education systems. AI is transforming every part of society and industries. Automation is reshaping the labor market. Digital technologies are redefining how we work, how we communicate, and how we learn. So the question we must ask ourselves is very simple. Are our education systems evolving at the same pace as the world around us? And this is where we need a major change, where the pace at which we are changing our education system really needs to move at a faster pace. The investments that we're committing to education need to be increased as a national imperative. And we're asking these questions when in many cases we know the answers. The recent crisis, such as the global pandemic, taught us many lessons. It taught us that our education systems must be resilient. We, as a country, showed that we had the ability to transition to digital tools, our teachers, our students. But it should not just be an initiative, a drive, an action taken during a pandemic. This is now the future. And I acknowledge that the ministry, through e-learning and other initiatives, are fitting out classrooms with digital tools. But it needs to be scaled. I heard President Malaba speak about all schools. All schools must have smart boards, not just one, but every room, every classroom in the school. All schools must have state-of-the-art science labs. All schools must have state-of-the-art STEM labs. And I know that is the direction the government is going. I just ask them to hasten their steps and to put more funding behind it. But I also say to the teachers, you must adapt to these new tools. You must also innovate, and you must also problem solve in this uncertain environment. Now I want to focus on technological disruptions, right? That is going to be my theme going forward. I want to use the remainder of my time to look at how technology is transforming our economy. We know about AI, we hear about robotics, advanced manufacturing, biotechnology. Now, I don't know how many of you like sci-fi movies. I'm looking at my friend Mark and others, right? And I don't know if you remember the many movies we've watched. Minority Report, anyone? Remember that one? I, Robot, Will Smith. We saw this humanoid robot. We saw driverless cars. Well, I wasn't going to go that deep still because Terminator fell out of the sky. So I don't ever want to go with the one that falls out of the sky. But my point is this, iRobot is no longer fiction. Did you not see what the Chinese did with the humanoid robots? Dancing better than me and you? Dancing better than me and you as Jamaicans? If you go to California, you can take a driverless car. So where's the sci-fi? These things are reality, right? So technology is reshaping the workforce, and it will redefine the workforce of tomorrow. So if we look at Jamaica in 2050, right? If we imagine Jamaica in 2050, I just have a couple of questions. What kind of economy will we have? Notice I've gone past the Vision 2030, right? Because that is happening tomorrow. I'm looking at 2050. What kind of economy will we have? What industries will drive our growth? We are in a hotel, we have depended on tourism. Will it be tourism that will drive our growth? Will it be bauxite? Will it be the financial services? What kind of skills will our workforce need? The decisions we make in education today will determine whether Jamaica will lead or follow. At some point, I am lead in technology. I am wanting one day to pick up a Jamaica tablet. I want to use a phone designed by a Jamaican, not just the app, but the hardware and everything in there. You can make it in China, but we must design it. When will we have the courage, the determination, and the vision to lead in technology and not just consume it? We are fast adopters of technology in Jamaica now. But the brain power I have at UTech tells me that we can go further. The bright students I have at UTech tell me that if given the opportunity, they can lead these industries. Now, you might be thinking, okay, principal of UTech, you're still in the sci-fi world. Or you might be saying, principal of UTech, these things are for others. So I want to just take you right back here to Jamaica. Because if maybe you don't believe it, but the private sector is going there anyway. Whether you like it or not. Because National Baking Company, I want you to listen to this. The minister says she's spending about, if I do my maths right, 400 million plus 400 million, that's what, 900. Round it off, give her $1 billion. So, Minister, you're spending $1 billion on upgrading schools. The National Baking Company is spending $6.7 billion on a state-of-the-art baking plant, which will be partially powered by robots. Montego Bay, down the road. So I am not talking about, and I want you to get these teachers. When you hear about AI and automation, please don't think it is for somebody else. And if you don't prepare this workforce for National Baking Company, he will go and get the workforce from outside. So I want to bring it right back home. So here's a robot in a bakery, as an example. And this is just one example. There are bakeries that are completely automated. So who is going to fix that robot? Who is going to design that robot? Who is going to maintain that robot? A foreigner? A non-Jamaican? If we don't get ready for this, this is coming. Because if you go to Montego Bay, the bakery almost finished. Drive through Catching Hall, you'll see it. Come on, conference, you with me? Yes. So it's not a sci-fi thing anymore. It's not about, we're going to put TVET and STEAM at the heart of education and it becomes rhetoric, because if we don't do it, National Bakery Company going to have to find a workforce from outside. Robotics is coming to Jamaica. Just a few months ago, I was discussing more robots coming to Jamaica through the Amber Group. And at UTech, Nova Core, who came out of UTech as a startup, have now brought in a group of robots. They are here. So I want you to listen to me carefully. So do not leave this conference thinking, well, that is for other people. Jamaica is Jamaica. Sometimes I hear you speak like that. People say, oh, but Jamaica, that's for other. No, it's here, and it's coming. So we have disruption. Let me give you another example. When I was a child, the roadside mechanic was a thing, was a job. Which one of you will take your car? I dare you take a car to a roadside mechanic today. When him open that bonnet, when that roadside mechanic opens that bonnet, what him going to do with the car? Nothing. Probably you can take it there to change the tire. First time a roadside mechanic, you go there with confidence, you get back, you cannot do it anymore. So already Jamaica, already conference, it is happening. When you go to your garage now, if you don't see a mechanic plug in a little computer, run, tell him, say sorry. If you don't see him come with a little computer, I'm serious. And him telling you, madam or sir, I'm going to plug my little computer in to tell you what. If you see him come with a monkey wrench, tell him say, sorry, not today. I'm serious. So I hope that when we talk about TVET and STEAM and automation, robotics, you leave this conference knowing that it is here in Jamaica already. And the private sector spending serious money on it. And they want a workforce that is also at the same level, right? So let's talk about another industry. I want to keep it real. BPO, Minister employs 60,000 Jamaicans. But here's the challenge. AI, I almost broke into a song. AI is coming for those jobs. AI is handling calls. AI is talking to customers like a human being. So AI is going to disrupt the BPO sector. Huge employer. But it's also an opportunity here, an opportunity for knowledge workers that you will have to create. And therein lies the focus. Because BPOs of the future will become knowledge process outsourcing centers in Jamaica if we can develop that knowledge workforce to attract new kinds of foreign direct investment. So we need to attract investors who will put companies here to employ Jamaicans to do data analytics, engineering services, financial modeling, medical and legal research, AI training, and automation. But they won't come, Minister, if they don't have the confidence that we have a highly educated STEM workforce. Why do you think the tourist industry is here? The tourist industry is here because they are confident that they will get the staff. They're confident in the product. Now we must give them confidence that we have the highly educated STEAM, TVET workforce so they can bring all these new future jobs, knowledge-based jobs to Jamaica. And it doesn't end there. You have the IPOs, innovation process outsourcing, where future jobs will include AI development, robotics and automation. There are companies that will outsource these jobs. Software engineering, and that is already here. There are many Jamaicans, including my students. I have a student that's doing software engineering for a company in Australia, but she is right here. She don't move, she don't leave Jamaica. But she's doing all the coding for them. So some of these things are emerging. The challenge is, how do you scale? You scale it when international community looks in and says, oh, Jamaica has a really advanced STEM education system. I can confidently go there and get staff. They have to see that emerging. This is why when I was at Rolls-Royce, when we looked at India with all their highly trained engineers, we built an outpost there. We employed 500 Indian engineers. I want in the future to hear that we're employing those numbers here in Jamaica. But we went to India because we were confident we could get the workforce. Because of the IITs, those hubs that India has. So we have models. This is not something that I'm speaking on top of my head. You have examples that Jamaica can copy. You have examples that will give you, have the enablers, the foreign direct investment will come. So, what is happening out there? I like to give examples because I don't like to speak in this sort of esoteric world. I want you to feel it when you hear me talk. This is already happening. So when we talk about engineering services, now again, think about it. We have call centers. Now imagine a world where an engineering company in the United States comes to Jamaica and says, I am setting up an office and I'm going to send my advanced design engineering work to Jamaica. Sounds realistic? It's happening. That gentleman, the O'Neill Gale, he and I went to UTech at the same time. We're in the same halls of residence. I left UTech, went to the UK. O'Neill left UTech, went to the United States. He started working for Lorin, worked his way all up to the top. He is the CEO. Conference, this is a Jamaican. This is a Jamaican who is the CEO for Lorin, America, Canada, and because O'Neill knows, I want you to be careful, you know, O'Neill knows what UTech and UE can produce. He said he convinced his board members, I want to open an office in Jamaica. So what type of work does Lorin do? Lorin Consulting designs buildings, huge buildings, complex buildings, right? They're using the latest software. And he said to me, I could have gone to India. But he said, because I know Jamaica and I want to give back, I'm opening a branch. Last year, they've been in Jamaica about 2 years. He said last year was their most profitable because of the office in Jamaica. And he said to me, I'm still paying them more than I would pay an Indian engineer. But it's okay because they're still getting a value proposition that makes it worthwhile. Now, here's the thing. O'Neill is not a foreigner. So him know, right? How do we convince the foreigner now to say, you know what, let's do what O'Neill is doing? Because none of the work at Lorin is Jamaican. It's literally a version of a BPO. He gets the work, big contracts, and he sends the design work to Jamaica. It is UTech and UE engineers in his office, about 30 of them. So I want you, conference, to understand that when you hear me talking about knowledge process outsourcing, it is real. I'm not dreaming up stuff. And we have to know, conference, transition from BPO to KPO and IPO because AI is coming with BPO jobs anyway, whether you like it or not. So what does it look like? The words are a bit small. But Minister, here's the thing. This is how it works. On my right, is it on your right? I can't see your screen. Okay, I think they're on your right. Right. So the high schools are the feeding tree. Of course, you have the primary schools and so on, but I start with the high schools and the community colleges. We strengthen them. The minister is committed to it. We make them all, President Malaba, STEM and TVET high schools, all of them. We then have a pipeline into UTech. Of course, we have UE, we have CMU, not going to leave them out. We have a pipeline into the universities. The universities then churn out these STEM graduates who get picked up in a STEM workforce. That's the cycle, you know. But you know what? It has to start with what? The education system. That's the birthplace. There's no UTech. By the way, cross out UTech if the high schools don't work. You know, I am out of a job with the high schools. So it starts from the basic school, primary, high school, right through. That's how this STEM economy gets developed, right? And then you can see the many jobs. The many jobs are on the other side. Apologies if the size of the words is too small, but those are all jobs. Those are all jobs to be had if you are qualified. Now, we have some challenges, and I want to just quickly run through them. There's a newspaper article here very high percentage of Jamaicans have no access to tertiary education. So let's look at the numbers. Only 15% of the workforce have some tertiary education qualification. Only 15%. And this is a problem for us. Nearly 29,000 students sit CSEC. Your students, 29,000, almost 30,000. Only 44% pass math recently. Only 27% of Jamaicans are enrolled in tertiary education. Now, if you want a knowledge-based society, you need to get to about 50%. So the statistics tell us that the STEM pipeline, that little diagram I showed you before, that STEM pipeline, it's fragile. Currently, it's very fragile, right? And so if we look at another example, engineering. Remember, my friend O'Neill is employing engineers, the Loring Consulting from overseas. He needs engineers. Now, if fewer students are succeeded in maths and science, then fewer students will pursue STEM subjects like engineering. This is a tree. So it shows you how you move from the fundamentals of math and physics into engineering careers. Because engineering is wide, lots of disciplines. But it starts with what? Math. So as a country, Jamaica has to pivot towards math like tomorrow. Well, maybe yesterday, because we're late. And 44% pass in CSEC needs to go up. 63% pass in physics needs improvement. And teachers, I know you're trying your best. I know. But we have to keep working at this to get these numbers up. Because fewer engineers mean fewer innovators. Fewer innovators means a slow economic growth. We won't attract these new KPO and IPO jobs if we don't show that we can strengthen our STEM education. But interestingly, we're having strong performance in food and nutrition, theater arts, agricultural sciences, and this is good. But we need to pivot to the sciences, pivot to the technology subjects, right? So these subjects, these passes, show that our students have the talent. If they're passionate about a subject, if they're given the opportunity, they can excel. The challenge now is to ensure that they also succeed in the fundamental STEM subjects. And another thing that I have to always mention in my speech, and Mark knows this very well, are my girls and boys. Because at all levels, girls are outperforming our boys in Jamaica at all levels. Now, I keep saying, and I have a daughter, I'm a feminist, I like the achievement of women. But we cannot, as a country, leave our boys behind. But here's the thing that excites me. Here's the thing that gets me out of bed. The boys like the tinkering. The boys like the TVET. The boys want to hold things and the boys want to do the robotics. The boys want to get the screwdriver and start. So if we really pivot, and if we make TVET less than, no less than, just the same, just imagine how we can recapture our boys. I'm truly excited by it. Because I know that the boys will get out of bed for TVET. But they have to feel confident that they're doing something that is not less than. So we have to work on the boys. The other thing is that we're going to work on the teachers. Who is going to teach STEM and TVET? We have math teachers, we have math teachers conference currently who are not qualified to teach math. Now, this is not a disrespectful statement. It's just a factual one. And the point I'm trying to make is we need qualified teachers for these STEM subjects. That's how you're going to get those CSEC passes up, right? We can't be like when I went to Herbert Morrison. Give every student access to the best math teacher, not just some. So we have to ensure that we train them. I'm looking at Dr. Gordon because I know she's hot on the training side, the license and the continuous professional development that is coming. And I won't even touch the last bullet point. That is for President Malaba. Remuneration. I'll leave that for you, President. That one I just leave it right there and go to the next slide. All right. and how do we stop the migration of our teachers? I spoke to you about Christopher Street, my favorite teachers. My favorite teachers, after doing such a wonderful job with me, migrated. So we have to work on this. Now I hear people are saying because of the geopolitics, our teachers might come home. Well, that's fine, but let us work on keeping them right here in Jamaica. Let us work on creating the conditions that will see them not wanting to leave. They will feel the money in their pockets. They will feel the benefits of being a teacher. When I was a child, a teacher was like a doctor. Who remember those days? Am I alone? Your teacher was looked at in the community. When a teacher walked, everybody knows that's Teacher Smith. She is addressed and treated like she's a medical doctor. Teachers, remember, in fact, they weren't even called by their names. It was Teacher Smith, Teacher Malloy, Teacher. It had Teacher Malaba. So you felt, even though teachers weren't compensated as well as you are now, you walked with your head high because even if there was no money in your pocket at that time, the respect that you received, gave you that purpose. Now, my next slide, I made sure I put the minister there because I don't want in the newspaper tomorrow they say President of UTEC said that labs are in a poor state. The minister has recognized it. But that's a good thing. Not only has she recognized that the labs need to update, the labs are out of date, she has gone on record to say it. And then you had Minister Moya today affirm the spending to fix that problem, or at least to start to fix that problem. So I want to congratulate the ministry on one, acknowledging the situation and starting to take action, right? And we look forward to the rollout of these modern labs and the spending of the $800 million that they have committed, right? So we appreciate that, Minister, and we look forward. I will come and cut some ribbons too if you invite me. And this is the list, right? So Minister Crawford didn't go into the details, but on the screen, you can see the plan to put robotics lab, virtual welding machines, electrical labs, optoelectronics labs, renewable energy labs across a range of technical high schools. And I look forward to the ribbon cutting to open up these labs. I also want to just ask the ministry to look at the machine shops. As we go towards these modern equipments, let's look at the machine shops that need upgrading across the technical high schools as well. So as I wind down, colleagues, how do we transform the education system? We have to look at the curriculum, and I won't repeat what other speakers have said. We all agree, which is the good news, We all agree, every speaker, whether it's ministry, JTA, we all agree that you have to integrate STEAM and TVET across the entire education curriculum. So that's a done deal, we agree. And we have to expand on applied and experiential learning. We agree that students must learn how to code. We agree that we must expose them to the digital world and also to infuse in them the ability to problem solve and to also encourage them to look at entrepreneurship. We must continue to equip our students with these key skills, teachers. They must become critical thinkers. And I know when PEP was introduced, the whole idea is that PEP would drive this critical thinking. But it mustn't be just at primary school PEP. Right through the education system, we have to keep pushing critical thinking, creativity, digital fluency, adaptability. That's how you respond to crisis. These young people are not so resilient. You know this? The least good thing they want to give up. So we have to somehow give them that ability to adapt and to problem solve. So the role of the teacher is not just to teach, and many of you know this already, so this is just a reminder. You know that you have to be mentors. You know already that you have to be innovators, right? You know that you have to facilitate an inquiring mind. You have to be champions for this digital literacy and build out that resilience that we need. And so, what will we get from the strengthening of our TVET ecosystem? We will have a partnership between the schools and industry. National Bakery is saying we're going to have a robotics bakery. The schools must now respond in ensuring, and as a schools, I include UTech, in ensuring that we're producing the right type of student for that new reality. Partnerships between teachers and universities. Again, Dr. Gordon wants you all to upskill. So come, let UTech and UE upskill you, right? And we must continue to expose our students to real-world innovation. Take them out on field trips, not just to museums, which is good, they must know the history. But now, when Mr. Hendricks builds his robotics bakery, take them there. Take them to Red Stripe. No. Take them to. I know teachers don't drink, so I don't know why I'm hearing so much commotion in the crowd. Huh? Why? I know teachers, right? You don't, right? So what I meant to say, and I know my good students will edit me out. What I meant to say is we need to take them to these food processing plants, like, that produce soft drinks on low sugar. Because in these processing plants, you will see automation, right? In Jamaica. So take them out, let them see the real world. But target engineering companies, software companies, show them the technology, right? So I want to see more field trips that are focused on that. And the universities have a key role to play. UTech is Jamaica National STEM University. We've been around for 68 years. We have 12,000 students. We offer a range of STEM disciplines. So once you do your amazing job, teachers in the high schools, we take them and finish them off. Give them that degree, that certification that then allows them to excel in the working world. And we have been doing a great job at it, and UTech will continue to excel in STEM, right? We are going through transformation at UTech, and it's a reset focused on the acronym as well. So R is we're going to do more research. E, we're going to expand access. S, we're going to become more student-centered. E is become more entrepreneurial and financially stronger. And the T is the obvious one, technology-focused, delivered by our people. But I want you to focus on the E, expanding access conference. UTech is no longer focused on 5 CSEC to get into university. Come with your diverse qualifications and we will look at it. It could be City and Guilds. It could be Heart. It could be no qualifications. We are looking at how we can do it while not compromising the quality of the programs. So we're not going to be able to take everybody. But we will look at your qualifications. We will say, okay, maybe you have a City and Guilds. Come in and do a couple of bridging courses and finish a degree. So we are looking at the spectrum of possibilities to expand access. We are the people's university, and we're serious about that. But when it comes down to technology, we're also going to be the host of Jamaica's National AI Lab. That is happening and will be launched this year. So AI is at UTech. And notice we are working with Heart NSTA. UTech is an inclusive institution. So we work with Heart So those who don't have any subject or want to come to a different route will still be able to get qualifications in AI. We work with the private sector through Amber Group, and we have the ministry on board. Partnership conference, partnership. That's how Jamaica moves forward. We're also building out our technology stack. We recently acquired a metal 3D printers. Now, some of you have plastic 3D printers at your schools. I'm aware. This one print metal. Yes. So those components you see on the screen, they're metallic. This machine prints it. It's right there at UTech. The investment was close to $1 million US, donated by the the Lloyd Carney Foundation, who, by the way, Lloyd Carney happens to be the chancellor of the institution, a Jamaican who made his wealth in America. So you can achieve this. The other thing is that Singapore went through the gears. If you look at the bottom of that slide, Singapore moved from a labor-intensive society to skills-intensive to knowledge-based, right? So we have to go through those gears very quickly, Jamaica. That is the challenge for us now. How do we catch up with Singapore? And one of the things that Singapore prioritized was to ensure that they had a world-class education system and look at the two universities. Singapore is the size of St. Thomas, by the way. Look at the two universities. Let me help you out if you need glasses. Singapore, National University of Singapore is ranked. If you go by the QS qualifications, it's 8th globally, number 8. If it's higher education, it's 17th in the world. Their technology university, that's their version of UTech, is ranked 12th in the world under QS and ranked 31 in the world. That's their version of UTech. Why is UTech not there? You know, does that walk away from the microphone? Why is UTech not there? What does it take to get there? So here's a dream. And, you know, I am from UTech, but I have friends across the board. So you'll hear me talk about other universities because we're working together. What should be on the screen, Minister Crawford, is UE in the place of NUS and UTech in the place of Nanyang Technological University of Singapore. That is where Jamaica has to go. Because guess what? Because the investors know that Singapore has world-leading universities, they all take their businesses to Singapore. I want you to listen to me carefully. Rolls-Royce, where I worked for over a decade, who very funny about them technology. We're so confident about Singapore that they built a manufacturing plant, the first manufacturing plant outside of Europe for large engines in this tickle tiny island. They were so confident. Rolls-Royce had never built a plant outside of Europe in the history of the company, except in Singapore. But you can confidently do that if you have a country where the universities are the top, the best in the world. So why is UE not there? Why is UTech not there? And Minister, I know it will take investment, and I'm saying for the next 5 years, Minister, Jamaica must commit. Jamaica must commit on this whole TVET journey. Bring up the pipeline, basic school, primary school, high school, and then put the universities there. That has to be the ambition. I want to come back to this conference in 5 years and say, there's UE and there's UTech. And Minister, you know Singapore work. It's the government that insisted this is what it has to happen. Let me repeat that. It is the government of Singapore, not the JTA, not some president of UTech. The government of Singapore that mandated that this is how it has to be and funded it. So we have to decide. So the call to action is very clear as I close. We must invest in our teachers and teaching technologies. And I will say that I can see the ministry is doing that. So let us keep doing it. Right? We must expand STEAM and TVET again. The ministry is signaling it is going to make TVET and STEAM the heart of our education system. We must commit to resilience. Conference, I want Jamaican education, I want the education system to be so resilient. Now, when the next hurricane lick, the next day, the schools are open. Because the resilience of the education infrastructure will be such that we just beat up like a hurricane and open back our schools. Now, question, are we building back the schools to that level? Question, where you can be battered by a hurricane, the next day the hurricane gone and you open the school. Are we building back to that quality of construction? And then you might reach there with the school, but then will the roads be open? Because if you don't build the roads to that quality of resilience, you can't reach the school. And are we building back the electrical system to be also resilient? By the way, why are the schools not solar? You know what, let me close. Let me close, because I know the government of Jamaica knows what to do. And conference, the government of Jamaica will do what they need to do. Because education is Jamaica's greatest strategic asset. And teachers are the architects of the future. Teachers. And STEAM and TVET will drive resilience. STEAM and TVET will drive it. Together, ladies and gentlemen. Educators, institutions, government, and industry, we can future-proof Jamaica's education system. Thank you so much.
After a presentation like that, all I can say is teachers are committed to being the architects of the future. And together, we can future-proof education. Ladies and gentlemen, with time going so swiftly, we are going to have a symbolic presentation by the e-Learning Jamaica. I am inviting Minister of State. Could you come forward? Mr. President, Ms. Dorothy Thompson from e-Learning is here in front.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm representing e-Learning Jamaica Company Limited, and we are now an agency of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. And we are the arm of the government that put all the technological infrastructure in your schools, as you are aware. Now, we have given over 26,000 vouchers to teachers so that they can get a laptop to help with teaching and learning. Unfortunately, Sister or Miss Melissa came about and decided to do some destructive action around, and some teachers' laptops were destroyed. Yes. So the Jamaica Teachers Association in...
Could I just break a bit? We'll ask the principal of Cove Primary to just join us. We are seeking a few teachers from the West who were most affected by hurricane to just be in this photograph. Thank you.
All right, okay. So the Jamaica Teachers Association represented the teachers to the Minister of Education, Youth, Skills and Information about the replacement of these laptops. So today, in collaboration with the JTA and Minister of State, Honorable Rhoda Crawford, will be representing the Ministry of Education to do the symbolic handing over to these teachers. We have received approximately 500 names so far, and that is valuing about $36 million. And we have started the ball rolling. We're not hesitating at all. So over 300 teachers have so far got their replacement. And as soon as the JTA conference is over, next week, we are on the ball for the other teachers who did not get their laptops. And we know, we have been in this business long enough, and we know that once you get a first list, you're going to get a second list, and you get a third list. So don't worry, we are processing. Once we verified through your schools and the principals that these were damaged, your laptops will be replaced. The Ministry of Education is on the ball. We need to ensure that the teachers are well equipped with their technology so you can continue the business of education, hurricane or no hurricane. So today we are doing the symbolic handing over through the Ministry of Education and Honorable Rhoda Crawford.
While that symbolic handover continues, I would just want to point out that the Ministry of Education has committed to replacing the laptops of all the ones that were given 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, yeah. We're just using the opportunity to replace those damaged by the hurricane first. Colleagues all, we are in a little difficulty. Lunch ends in the hotel at 2. And we need to get you to lunch very, very quickly. So at this time, we're going to apologize to Cove Primary, who came with another performance, because we also need to get them to lunch. And we're going to invite Mrs. LaSonia Harrison, our president-elect, to do the vote of thanks.
I wish not to be the one who stands between you all and lunch, and in my haste, I did not put on something that I need to assist me ably. But I will navigate as best as I can. I greet our Custos Honorable Minister, President, and all. Thank you, IPP. Appreciated greatly. So, what a morning it has been. We started off on Hanover timing. Wow, I can see the time is far spent. But we want to thank our past president, current Deputy Secretary General, Mr. Clayton Hall, moderator, for so ably leading this opening session of our Education Conference 2026. To Reverend Morgan, indeed, the word was good. The teacher ought to be one who maintains goodness, practice goodness, always leaving a good lesson, and certainly to avoid many things, lack of integrity, interaction, and all. Thank you so much for invoking the presence of God here to start this well-established morning session. To our Secretary General, Dr. Nicely, a comedian of another lifetime, would you say, for extending a warm welcome and setting the backdrop against which this conference was conceptualized and planned, guided by the theme, future-proofing education in times of crisis, advancing STEAM and TVET to sustain innovation, resilience, and recovery. To Mr. Leon Nash, our Communication Officer of the JTA, for ably deputizing on behalf of Dr. Margaret Chin, outlining for us the menu that is on hand for the next 3 days of this conference. Custos, thank you for always welcoming us to the parish of Hanover. Teaching is indeed a personal and relational profession, and certainly our most influential teacher has guided our personal sojourn. You have reminded us of many things concerning education. Our state minister. So we had 3 instrumental persons today who are past students of the Shortwood Teachers College, where growth and enlightenment takes place. So thank you, Minister, for so ably representing the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. TVET is not an alternative. It is a central pillar to transforming education. We are grateful and we're looking for the rollout of 800 million and more to certainly underscore the words expressed by our keynote speaker. And before I get there, must we not thank our president for a sobering address? Put your hands together for President Mark Malava, certainly the conceptualizer of this education conference, and one, I will quote him by saying that Jamaica is only perhaps one of those countries that seems to want to return on the investment of education without making the actual investment. Malava 25, 2026. So he has called for the investment of equitable TVET education for all, certainly underscored by the words, salient words, much for pondering and reflection by our able keynote speaker, Miss Dr. Brown, fitting for the time. You could not have chosen a better keynote in the person of Dr. Brown, President Malava. We need a revolution in TVET thinking. It is not for the duns. I put that in quotation. Yes, admiration needs to turn into action. TVET requires and demands urgent, no attention, and the investment is certainly needed, of course, to lead the technological innovation and to advance Jamaica. We need to expose our children to real-world innovation, and I'm thank God that the JTA saved work experience coordinators. Put your hands together for the JTA, because they lead in our schools that arm. So the morning has been well spent in order to position Jamaica to be that knowledge process outsourcing place to work, to live, to raise families, and to do business. We need to invest, and invest now. To the family of Cove Primary, let us put our hands together for our future, our children who certainly provided us with the entertainment they did. Colleagues all, to all the participants, all media, everyone, the professional advancement, Teacher Welfare Committee of the JTA, Dr. Chin in her absence, the admin staff, everyone who has worked in order for us to have this great blessing. And I no longer stand between you and lunch. Thank you for being here.
PE, I see you are always leaving your things behind. Colleagues all, we are going to be breaking for lunch. You are to come back for lunch within 1 hour. So we will resume from lunch at 3. I'm going to invite Dr. Brown, our keynote, to do our photo op. You are to be thanked. And the students who performed for us, they will come back to perform at the beginning of the next session. We are just allowing them to have lunch. You are also be reminded that we couldn't have this lovely ambience and not have a party. So we will be having a Hold It's party tomorrow evening starting at 6 p.m. You come up and go. You will have all things sorted for you. Let us now stand for grace. Hands clasped and eyes closed. I'm looking to see if you're looking. You're not to look. For health and strength and daily food, we praise thy name, O Lord. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now lunchtime.